Welcome back to another episode of the Bono's Real Estate Podcast. Today I have a phenomenal guest on the program, James Michener with Realty One Group Mountain Desert here in Prescott.
Thank you, Bill.
Hi, James.
Appreciate it. This is fun,
this
man.
is awesome.
It's great.
So before we get started, I want to tell you guys a little bit about James and what he has accomplished. He runs a team of how many?
15 agents.
15 agents. In 2021 and in 2022, James's team did over $100 million in sales. Wow.
Sales volume, yep.
Sales volume. In 2021, the team sold 318 deals.
Yep.
As an individual agent, James has sold over 150 homes for 4 years in a row.
Yep.
And he was voted the top agent by the Daily Courier in 2021. Now, the Daily Courier, what areas does that cover? Just to give the people context.
So it'll cover everywhere from Cordis Junction over to Paulden. So it's about 200,000 people for population, and then there's about just under 3,000 agents that you compete with for that.
Awesome,
Yep.
Cool. Okay, before we dive into it, who is James Michener? Introduce yourself to everybody who will listen and watch.
All right. So thank you guys for watching. My name is James Michener, 35 years old, been a real estate agent for going on my 9th year. Run a team of, again, 15 agents, do wholesale, fix and flip, own rental properties, own part of a private money company, and then sell retail real estate. So my grandma's been a broker for 47 years, my guardian father for 43 years, and
Nice.
it's just something we like to do. It's fun, it's addicting, it's great. So I love it.
Yeah, awesome. So again, I love giving context for the guests that I have so that people can understand the best way possible. What did you do before you got into real estate, and what kind of got you into real estate besides your family being in it and stuff?
Yeah, so great question. Before I got into real estate, I was a banker at Wells Fargo. I worked there for 5 years. I loved it. It was great. I got offered a manager position to step under the branch manager, decided that wasn't a good fit for me, went and was an enrollment counselor for Grand Canyon University.
Nice.
So I was doing phone prospecting, getting students in, and the whole shebang, right? Took about a year off, traveled, went to Taiwan, taught English there, backpacked through Thailand for about 6 weeks, came back to the States, went to Montana, worked on a farm for about 4 or 5 months.
Nice.
Went back down from Montana down to Mexico, worked with our Race for the Wounded for 3-4 weeks, and then came back and settled down, and it's just an amazing time.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
That's
and then
quite the
decided
life.
I wanted to start selling some real estate.
Yeah.
And actually, what solidified it is I was doing my master's program at Grand Canyon University. And at the same time, I was like, maybe I should get my real estate license. Met with my guardian father, was in his kitchen talking to him. And he goes, so you might get your real estate license. I go, yeah. I'm like, what got you into real estate? He's like, I like sales, and if I was going to sell anything, I wanted to make the most amount of money I could and get into investing. I'm like, cool. Signed up, started doing both of those at the same time. I wanted to have a little fun, so party with my friends and whatnot. So I dropped out of my master's program and got my real estate license.
Nice.
Yeah.
Obviously worth it for you.
Great.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to go back to your first year in real estate.
Yeah.
What did James do in his first year of real estate that kind of got you started?
So James did 0 deals for his first 6 months in real estate, right?
Okay.
I followed my brokerage, and they said, you need to, send letters, postcards, post on social media, do some open houses, and just let everybody know you're in real estate. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So I did that for a few months. Backing up just a little bit, 1 month after I started here in Prescott, they hired a real estate coach, and he said, hey, welcome to the brokerage. What are you looking to do to gain business? And I said, well, what the brokerage said. He said, well, you need to sit your butt down and do cold calls and do cancel expires for sell by owners, circle prospecting. I said, no way. I did that at Grand Canyon University. I do not want to do that, right? Fast forward 3 months later, meet up with him again, just been passing, and he's like, hey, how's business going, and how many deals have you done? I'm like, 0. He's like, how many do you have in the pipeline? 0. He's like, you need to start calling.
And what year was this?
So that was 2014?
2014.
Yeah, 2014. Yep. So 2013, 2014. And so I just started picking up the phone, and I started calling for sell by owners. So, and I would hit those, start door knocking them. And then 2 years later, I started moving into canceled and expireds.
Okay.
After that. Yep.
Okay. And was it your coach that got you into the for sale by owner calling? Or what made you get into the FSBO calling?
I just started it.
It was your idea?
Well, he said that you need to call for sale by owner.
Oh, okay.
Canceled and expired.
Right.
So I just went on to Craigslist, went on to Zillow.
Nice.
Went on to Facebook Marketplace and just started hitting all of them that I could.
Nice.
It got a little boring because there wasn't a ton of them at that time.
Right.
You know? So I did incorporate a little bit of door knocking. I didn't even know what a cancel and expired was really at that time.
Right.
So my first 6 months did 0 deals. Then from July 1st to the end of the year, I ended up closing 26 total deals.
Whoa, nice.
After that. Yeah,
and
so
that was directly because of the calling that you were doing?
Yeah, it was. Some sphere of influence as well.
Nice.
All that kind of tied in.
Nice, nice. Okay, so fast forward to today.
Yeah.
What do you believe is your most effective lead generation activity that you do and that your team does today?
Phone prospecting.
Just phone calling.
I mean, you can buy leads, you can do all that stuff, but sweat equity, return on investment is going to be your calling.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because we've talked about this, and I've had different episodes where we talk a lot about social media marketing. And this conversation is interesting because you definitely in the past couple of weeks have started posting a lot more on social media.
Yeah.
But that's not where James Michener was built.
No.
It's been the phone calling. And so one thing I want to get into a little bit is not everybody is good at phone calls. Like, not everybody has that skill.
It's hard.
Yeah. Do you think that it's natural, or do you think that it's practice?
No, it's practice for sure. I mean, I'm good at conversation anyways, and I like meeting new people. I'm genuinely interested in other people as well.
Right,
so I think that helped me out in the business. And then honestly, I'm a hunter, man. I like to go after it. I like to take it down.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, and after I got my first commission check, it was $4,500, right?
Yeah.
And I remember getting that check and telling my wife, "Oh my gosh, if I could do 10 of these a month, like I'm making 50 grand a year or a month. That'd be incredible."
Right.
And it took me, oh man, how many years did it take me to get to that? It took me 4 years to get to 50 grand a month, right? And a little bit over.
Which is what most people don't, I mean, they can never even fathom that.
No, I couldn't even fathom it either.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Interesting question for you here.
Yeah.
What lead generation activity do you enjoy the most, and what lead generation activity do you least like?
Yeah, so the one I like the most, I would say, is probably like neighborhood calling, so Quailwood over here.
Okay.
I would cold call through there. It took me 18 months, but I made a little over $500,000 by doing that. No postcards, nothing like that. It was just pure pull the numbers, call, set up a game plan, and it worked like magic, right?
Okay.
Yeah. The least, probably for sale by owners just because they can be the toughest.
Right.
But I mean, I got to empathize with them, right? They're selling because they don't want to pay commission, and they probably had a bad experience in the past. But so it's my least favorite, but not by, there's not a big spread right there. All of it's hard.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that I can see being challenging because for sale by owners, I feel like you have one of two situations. One, they just don't know the process, so they don't know even where to start with a real estate agent, or it's the situation that you just described, that they don't want to pay commission, and you have to empathize with that. Now, that's where Tom Ferry talks about this all the time. Number one, you mentioned that you're a predator, you're hungry, you're out there. And going forward in this market, which we'll get into, you're either going to be predator or prey. Yeah. That's the market that we're heading into and that we may possibly be in. And so I just found it interesting. The other thing that Tom Ferry keeps bringing up. Do you follow Tom Ferry at all? Oh, okay. So the other thing that Tom Ferry brings up.
Mike Ferry.
Yeah. So Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry is Mike Ferry's son, number one real estate coach in the world. And he's constantly talking about how going forward, it's going to take real professionals.
Totally.
It's going to take real professionals to succeed in the real estate industry. So I think that's exactly what you're doing.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, it's not going to.
But here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So we see a decline of 40% in transactions, right? I don't know, how many have you, what's kind of year over year, month over month have you seen?
As far as transactions or as far as?
Transactions.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so we're 40% down in our market, right? Month over month for year over year.
Right.
So And a lot of agents will be like, oh my gosh, there's no business out there, I can't do this. But at the same token, like when I first started in real estate, there was about 600 real estate agents.
Right.
Now there's like 3,000, and now we're starting to see that number drop.
Right.
So transaction count is dropping, but so are the agents, they're dropping off. So it kind of balances itself out. You're not going to lose as many agents as you are the transaction count right away, but it's going to start to happen. So you've got to get out there, you got to build your skill set. What I tell everybody is like, one of the things I'm most grateful for is that I built my skill set during the downtime. So when the uptime was up, I could take full advantage of that. And I did. I mean, I sold 183 properties myself in 1 year. Made over $1 million for 4 years in a row consistently. Like, it's been amazing. But it's because I practiced my scripts, I practiced my daily schedule, I did my habitual, I had real estate coaches, and all of that stuff just worked out gloriously.
Do you ever get people come to you and say, like, wow, you got so lucky? The reason I bring that up is because there's, I think Elon Musk said this. When people come up to him and say, or when people come up to you and say, wow, you just got so lucky. I like the response of, no, you haven't been paying attention, because the last 10 years I've been working my butt off. And now I'm starting to see the rewards of it. And there's not a lot of people, like I work and talk to a lot of agents. There are not a lot of agents who put as much time and sweat equity into calling and into prospecting as you do. So that being said, how many hours a day do you think that you spend cold calling and phone calling and prospecting on the phone? So my prime is between 2 to 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and a little bit on Saturdays. But then you have door knocking, then you have your social media. There's all this stuff, but just pure phone prospecting, anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a day. You made a post recently about the importance of social media. You know, I have seen some amazing results from agents using social media. You've recently really started getting onto the video, because we're in a video first world, and I've had a lot of people come up to me and say that how much they love your videos. Number one, what made you start the video first mentality of starting to post more video, more educational, more informational videos, and how has that been working out for you?
So I started making videos because I hired a coach to coach me to be a real estate coach. And he said video is where you need to be. So I started doing it, and to be completely honest, I was super nervous, And I had done videos before in the past, and I liked them. Like when my rental properties would get trashed, or I picked up a new fix and flip, I would take a video of that. Or like, hey, somebody smoked in this listing, now we're gonna have to drop the price by 10 to 20% because of that. So don't smoke in your house, etc. But I'm making those videos because I am passionate about becoming a real estate coach. And so I want to give information out. And it's funny because some of my friends will be like, dude, you're giving away all your secrets. And it's like, I don't care at this point. Like, I want to help other people. And honestly, I want to build my real estate coaching business. So
I think that I've had a mental change in the past couple months of that exact thing about, you know, it's funny because people will be like, well, what do you, I've had a lot of people come up to me and they enjoy my videos, and they'll ask about, how'd you do the captions, how'd you do the transitions, like, how'd you get this, how'd you get that? And it's like, how are you doing all of these things? And then as far as the actual content, they ask about it, and it's like, look, I'm showing you everything. Like, if I get asked enough about captions, I'm making a video about captions and showing you everything. And what's really important about that is, like what you're doing, you're providing value first. And that's building brand. And we're going into a market and into a world that brand is the only thing that really matters. And the way you build brand is provide value and show up consistently. And I think that you're doing both of those, and I'm trying to do the same thing. So you brought up coaching. What does coaching mean to you? And what made you kind of transition into wanting to be a coach? So coaching to me means that I'm going to improve somebody else's life and their business through the advice that I give. From the sweat equity and the dumb tax that I paid, they don't have to pay that, I can teach them, how do you go from living in to watching a single wide trailer in the worst part of Prescott Valley 3 or 4 nights out of the week, and then renting a room from your brother, to owning 21
doors and
Right.
having a passive income of over $300,000 in
Right.
5 years, right?
Right.
Well, I should say 8, but it was at 250 at 5 years. So I
Right.
became financially free after 5 years.
Right.
So I want to teach other people to do that.
Right.
I moved into coaching because I noticed that one day I had gotten 3 listings, right? Went to 3 listing appointments, crushed it, interviewed against like 5 or 6 other people, and that felt great, right?
Right.
But what felt even better is that my team members were coming up to me, calling me that same day. I had 2 team members call me and say, James, I just want to tell you how grateful I am and how much you've changed my
Yeah.
life, and the stuff that you've taught me and the structure you've given me
Right.
has changed my family's life, my life, and
Yeah.
my business. And that felt better tenfold than getting those 3 listings that day.
Right,
And I just
yeah.
noticed that happen over and over and over
Right.
again. So I started
Right.
off with 1 team member, as everybody does, up to 15, and every single one of those team members have had their best years in real
Yeah.
estate when they were working with me.
That's
right?
amazing. Yeah.
And let's go back to talking about luck, right? Like,
Yeah.
to answer your question and what you said about Elon Musk, like, yeah, people don't see the nitty gritty, crappy stuff that we have to do where we're sitting in front of a computer, cold calling random people, getting
Right.
cussed at and
Right.
whatnot. And it's boring. It's
Right.
not fun. Like, it's just not, but it's something
Right.
you have to do to get to a certain step.
Right.
But do I feel like I got lucky? Yes, I feel like I got lucky because the market was down and I
Right.
was riding it up. But
Right.
I also feel like I put in a lot of hard work to
Right.
get my skill set up, and that I took advantage of any opportunity I could for coaching and training
Right.
as well. So
Yeah.
a little bit of luck and a lot of freaking hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and your second part to the question was what, so why coaching? And then the second part was
What made you get into coaching?
what made me get into coaching. Yeah, was I just, one of my buddies, Brandon Mulrennan, is a big real estate coach.
Yeah.
And he called me 5 years ago and said, hey, I got another buddy and myself, and we want to talk with you on a weekly basis to kind of mastermind and kind of build skill set and
Right.
role play, right? I said, yeah, that'd be great. So he ended up quitting our mastermind and quitting real estate, I think, and the timelines are going to be a little bit different, but
Right.
after 12 months after us meeting, right?
Right.
And he got into real estate coaching, and he absolutely loves it. He's a great coach. He's a
Yeah.
great guy. And so it just provided a change that would allow me to stay in real estate, allow me to help others, and allow me to still make an income
Right, yeah.
while giving back. So
Right.
that's the reason
Yeah.
for that.
That's, yeah, amazing. I want to get into something that's a little bit different, but I feel like it's relevant to what we're talking about. Attitude and perspective on things. What role has attitude and perspective played in your success?
So attitude and perspective are huge, right? So it's all about mindset when it comes to this, because mindset's going to be your hardest thing.
Right.
Your biggest challenge in life and your biggest obstacle is the person that stares you back in the mirror. So
Yeah.
it's yourself, right?
Right.
You're never going to battle against anything. You're never going to battle against anything more so than yourself.
Right.
So,
Your biggest opponent will always be yourself.
and it is, dude. I still deal with it to this
Yeah.
day, right?
Yeah.
And the second part is perspective. Like, I came from really poor my entire life growing
Right.
up
Yeah.
to where I'm at now, but I'm still humble and I still like to learn,
Right.
and I can learn from you. I can learn from anybody.
Yeah.
And so perspective is like, keep your ears open and your mouth closed and
Right.
just listen to people and take in the advice that they give you.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I love that about you can learn from anyone.
Yeah.
I despise the idea of, what I'm doing is working right now. Like
Yeah.
not necessarily me, but like anybody thinking what I'm doing is working right now. I'm not going to listen to anyone else. I'm just a steam train going forward.
Yeah.
I think that no matter what, even if you truly dislike somebody, you could still learn from them.
Absolutely.
And I go through this a lot because, I'm young, I'm in an industry where experience means a lot, even though we're going into a market where I've seen that it's not everything.
No.
Experience is not everything going, now. But for me, I do a lot of things differently. I'm into social media. I'm into branding online, digitally, and real estate is historically a field where there's much older agents than 20-year-olds,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Now you're starting to see super, super successful 20-year-olds in real estate.
Yeah.
And so, but I think where the 20-year-olds make the mistake is they don't listen to the people who have the experience. Even though experience is not everything, it still means a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that the ways that people are doing things, the new ways with social media and digital marketing and stuff like that is great. I think that's a necessary thing going forward.
Yeah.
But I also think that if you can combine that with the experience of veteran agents, you're just going to murder it.
Yeah, you will. And I think that's a great point that you bring up, is like you want to have the new skill sets when it comes to social media, when it comes to online marketing and those technology pieces. But at the end of the day, people still like face-to-face. They still like phone calls. They still like meeting in person and going over everything.
Right.
So you have to do a good mixture of that.
Right.
And I would say the latter is more important than the technology part of it, to be completely honest. People will buy from those that and hire from those that they like, right?
Right.
And that they feel comfortable with.
Right.
And you're just not going to do that as well virtually.
Yeah, no, I think that where I believe social media, specifically social media, and I know that there's a stigma on social media, but the way that you can possibly use it for business is absolutely amazing. And so I think, to your point, building those relationships with people is crucial to building a big business.
Yeah.
I think what I like about social media is that you can reach people at massive scale and still be developing relationships in a way that you can't do without this technology.
Yeah.
I think that's what I enjoy about it. So I think that the latter of what we were talking about before, about building these relationships, talking on the phone, meeting face to face, talking about it in real life is huge. But I think developing new relationships online at a massive scale that you can't do without it, and then saying to 50 people in one day, let's meet up.
Yeah.
Like you cannot do that without it. And so I think that if you can combine those two, you're not going to build a big business just DMing people all day. It has to be, hey James, on a DM, let's meet up for coffee and talk real estate. And then you get into that kind of old school approach.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100% with that, Bo. And I think that I wish I would have probably incorporated technology a little bit sooner. I wish I would have documented stuff a little bit quicker. I wish I would have built out the course a little bit quicker for my team. And there's a lot of lessons that I have that I can now teach other people. Like, hey, I made over $1 million a year for X amount of years.
Right.
And there was still growth for me to have.
Right.
And I wish I would have done this.
Right.
And I can
That's
teach
huge.
you all this stuff.
That's huge.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to enjoy your answer on this one.
Okay.
What is a common myth, MYTH? What is a common myth that you hear commonly about real estate?
That it's not as hard as it looks.
Okay.
Yeah. I get people all the time that are like, oh, all you have to do is answer some phone calls and
write a contract and you're done.
I'm like, oh, cool. Why don't you come work for me then? Let's do that. And you can make $500,000 a year.
Right.
Like if it's that easy, like come work with me, you know?
Right.
And then as soon as somebody gets into real estate, they're like, damn, this is really hard. Like, your schedule really isn't your own, which in my coaching program, I teach you how to keep your schedule your own, right? Which is better for your client and it's better for you and it's better for your long-term health and wealth.
Yeah.
But that's the myth, is that they think it's easy, you know? And it's not. I mean, the success rate of a real estate agent is after the first, I think it's 2 years, the dropout rate is 80%. After up to 5 years, it's another 80% of those ones that have already dropped out, right? So it's just insane.
I am not a real estate agent, but I am in the field, I'm in the industry, and I hear that constantly. I really do. Oh, all you have to do is talk to your friends and family and then write contracts and then you're good to go.
And not only that, but you start working for your friends and family, you really, and it's their biggest purchase of their lives, and they think,
tension.
And I get this and I understand it, but it's tough to swallow sometimes. They'll call you at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, Sundays to want you to go do, and you have no work-life balance at some point. So it can be tough.
Okay, so this one is interesting as well. There's been a lot of talk about comparing 2008 to the market that we're in today, 2022. What is the biggest difference between 2008 and 2022 regarding the real estate markets?
Well, there's 50% equity in houses right now compared to then. A lot of the loans that are going through, there were heavy down payments, there was a lot of cash transactions. It's just not the same. And if anything, it's not, I don't think it's going to be as bad as quickly. I think the long term of everything, to see how it shakes out, is going to be really interesting, because I don't know, I just think that there's a lot of stuff that's really expensive now. There's a lot of, there's just a lot more, it's not just bad lending now. It's, the Feds let the market not just get red hot, white hot, right? And now it's like, okay, how do we survive? How do people afford living in Prescott or living in the Verde Valley?
It's a valid question.
Now, it's really hard, man. It's really hard. So I'm grateful every day that I worked as hard as I did.
I bet, So I think I was listening to this Tom Ferry podcast with David Childers, and David, David Childers, Keeping Current Matters. He said two things that really, really resonated with me. Number one, the average American in 2022 has over $300,000 in equity in their home.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right, so that, number one, is a huge difference in 2008. The second thing that he had mentioned was, when he was comparing 2008 to 2022, was that the conversation in 2008 was, how much money am I going to lose? Right? The conversation today is, am I going to make as much? Two completely different conversations.
It's insane when I prospect and I'm talking to sellers and they're like, well, my price has dropped. I'm like, yeah, by 10 or 20%. Like, when did you buy the house? 2018? Oh, so since 2018, you've almost like doubled your price in some way. So you're really not losing any money. But you could later, like the longer you wait. So take advantage of it now if you want to. Don't get greed is the biggest thing in real estate.
Especially the past 2 years, 2020, 2021 has created so much greed in sellers and agents. I would say,
But you have to empathize with the sellers too. I mean,
100%.
Like
they're kicking themselves. Some of them.
Yeah, I guess so. But they're also like, everybody wants to make as much money as they can with whatever they're doing. And so of course they're going to push back a little bit, like, hey, why can't I get $650 for my house? Why do I have to take $600? And so you have to empathize with that and understand. And
I think it's an interesting story. I think 2020, 2021 were historical markets. 2% interest rates, prices going out of control high. It was an interesting time, and I think now we're starting to see the market just normalize, and you're starting to see people freak out because prices are dropping so rapidly. But, and I know you know this, year over year, prices are still have increased.
They're great.
I mean, year over year, I don't know the exact, what is it, 10%, 40% increase in home values.
Oh, it's like 30%. Man.
So 30% increase in home values
you had 60%
year over year.
Growth in Phoenix.
Year over year you have about 30-40% increase in home values. That is amazing. We have just come from a historically wild market, and now people are freaking out because it's not staying that way, which we would have never been able to sustain that anyways.
No, and it's going to be fine for the most part. I think our hardest thing is that there's a lot of sellers that have 2.5% to 4% mortgage rates, and why would they want to sell their house in order to, like, say somebody has twins, right? And they're like, dang, I really need an extra bedroom, but am I going to sell this house at this interest rate and then add a couple $100 on my
monthly payment
because of the higher interest rate? They're just not going to do that. So you might see it to where people just aren't wanting to move. But then you have creative financing. Then you have you have to add as many tools in your tool belt as you can. That's why I like fix and flips. I like rentals. I like being able to do wraps or subject to. Owner carries. Like, if you know all of this stuff and you're working with a coach that knows all this stuff, you can go into a listing appointment and say, hey, you're a veteran, right? Not you particularly, but if you're a veteran, somebody can assume your loan, right? And so there's different ways to market properties in order to get them sold and still get you top dollar.
Well, and I think what James is explaining here is really important for everybody to be listening to, because I think it describes and kind of shows why it's really important that you have to be a professional going forward. I mean, and I think that's where the experience comes in. I think that's where the knowledge comes in to be able to help, veterans and first-time home buyers or whatever the case may be in the best possible way by utilizing all the tools out there for them. And so I think that's critical. Okay. One more question, and then we're going to go into questions from the audience on Instagram. But last question here before that, what are your predictions for the real estate market in 2023?
Yeah, so I think we'll have 40% less transactions, and I think the market will drop 10 to 20%.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
What we'll do is maybe this time next year, we're going to get onto another podcast and we'll see what happens and see how extremely accurate James is.
Yeah, I just want to buy some good rental properties and some good fix and flips,
there
honestly.
You go.
So whatever comes out.
Yeah.
If I can help somebody to do that,
totally.
I'm up for it.
Yeah. No, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an interesting little idea that I just came up with today, actually, before we started filming. I asked everybody on Instagram to put in a question that James could answer, and so I have 3 questions here, and James is going to answer them. So, you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, so if you could snap your fingers and add one marketing lead generation channel to your business, what would that be?
And add one lead generation channel. I would, man, that's really tough. The first thing I think of is I would get a really good, I would get a website that's really good at providing seller leads to myself.
Okay.
How do you do that? I don't know. There's various other ones that you can do. It's going to cost a lot. And the second part to that is I would get somebody that's really, really good at cold calling for canceled, expireds, and for sale by owners that can give me a warm lead, and I could crush that with that.
Then go.
And I have somebody, we're working on it. It's not solidified 100%, but I've tried a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Yep. Good question, though. That was a good question.
Yeah, that was a good question. What is your number one pain point right now?
Number one pain point is trying to get out of production, at least trying not to be decreasing my own personal production by at least 75%.
Oh, okay.
And so if I'm doing 100 deals a year, I only want to do 25.
Right.
And be able to run my team as a business and have them work together. So I think that's the biggest thing. And really like figuring out admin stuff, like who's good, what are they doing, and who's expendable, and I don't need anymore. So biggest pain point is running my real estate business as a business instead of just me being in it.
Rather than trying to be in production and run a team at the same time. Yeah. Yep. And that being said, not just a team, but like a high producing team.
Oh yeah.
So it's busy, and James is busy, and his team is busy. So yeah. Okay, so last one. What are you doing to educate your clients on what to expect?
Yeah, so that's a great question. A lot of title companies offer a marketing report that they send out weekly, right?
Right.
So I'm going over that with them, saying, hey, these are the days on market, this is price per square foot, this is the inventory that we're seeing. So I'm reading that every single time it comes out for the areas I focus on, which is Prescott Valley. And honestly, like you can pretty much generally get the same. Those are going to be the 2 variances, right?
Right.
Prescott's going to be the outlier. Prescott Valley is going to be similar to Dewey and Chino Valley and Paulden, right? In terms of their numbers. So if you know those 2 and you know your market stats, you're going to get, that's how I'm constantly educating myself. And I learn from my coaching students also. Okay. And I learn from my team.
Yeah, awesome.
Yep.
James Michener, everyone. James, thank you very much.
Bill. This is really fun.
If consumers, buyers, sellers, or if agents who want to contact you for coaching or for advice or whatever, what's the best way to find you?
So find me on Facebook, James Michener, and just send me a message. I'll give you all the free scripts. I'll give you my neighborhood game plan. I'll give you all that stuff for free.
There you go.
And if you want to expand on that and get into the coaching program, then that's great. If you don't and you just have some questions, just shoot me some messages. So and I'll be more than happy to help you out. So it's fun. I'm excited about this.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
It'll be great.
Well, thank you, James. Thank you to everybody who watched or listened. Please don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and to follow on Spotify. Stay tuned for more. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.